You're watching Grassroots Resistance Collective. Texas grown, people powered, and unapologetically bold. We expose corruption, amplify real candidates, and give voters the truth the system tries to bury. No spin, no sellouts, just resistance. Let's get to work.
Hello, good evening, everybody. It is Thursday, September 11th. Tonight, we are joined by Sara McGee, candidate for Texas House District 132. Sara describes herself, she describes her political philosophy as for the people, advocating for fair capitalism, strong public schools, healthcare access, and real representation for working Texans. And I'm also with my co host, Chastity. How are you, Chastity?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm doing great. Sara, it's very nice to meet you. Thank you for coming on the show. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. So I'm born and raised Texan. I was born in Dallas. I moved down to the Katy area when I was 3. Well, my parents, my parents moved us down here. So I lived in Katy until a couple years ago, and then I moved over to the Cypress area. But looking at all the places I've lived throughout my life, I have been in the district where I'm running for 41 years now. So grew up here, went to Katy High School, raised my kids here. They went to Seagull Ranch. So I am very ingrained in this community. Like this community raised me and formed me. My parents got divorced when I was 9, so I grew up with a single mom. And then once I graduated high school, I um, got married young, got married at 20, had my 2 kids back to back, and then um 22 I was divorced, and then I was also a single mom. So I was kind of looking around, figuring out, like, at that point I was a bartender, didn't have much in the way of plans. And so one of my regular customers actually at the bar where I worked was an x-ray tech, and I just thought that was absolutely fascinating. And so I looked into it, went to x-ray school. That took 2 years, and then from there, I worked my way up, and now I have been in the medical field for 22 years, and I currently work as a director of radiology. So kind of a, pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of
Yeah.
story. Yeah, for many, many years, I worked, 2 and 3 jobs. I specialized in both CAT scan and mammography. And so there were days where I would work a day shift in mammography, and then work a 3 to 11 shift in CAT scan, and then work an overnight shift in x-ray. Like sometimes I would work like 24-hour shifts. I was working 70, 80 hours a week for years.
It's definitely
Thankfully,
a
I had a very,
lifestyle.
yeah. Well, I was determined. I was determined to get,
Hmm.
to a place where I could give my kids, that's what you always want to do, right?
Yeah,
Is
for
give your
sure.
kids more than you have. But yeah, so that kept me busy. I've always been politically active. Always did my research and made sure I voted. And then it was the overturning of Roe that got me on the political, I would say, like, activism side. And so this last cycle, I was block walking for Colin Allred and phone banking for Kamala, and I was doing focusing on national elections, which so many people tend to do, and really not paying attention to what was going on in the state. And so I went to go vote on the first day of early voting. Took my daughter; she's 22 now. She was 21 at the time, so it was her first time voting in a presidential election. So went on the first day, made a whole deal out of it. Like, went out for dinner afterwards. But um, the representative that I am running against was at the polls that day, and so I was like, you know what? I was like, let me go talk to him, because they always tell you to speak to your representatives. And I thought for sure. I had just gotten off work. I was still wearing my scrubs. Being a director of radiology, I have seen firsthand what women have had to go through with the restrictive abortion laws in Texas. We're talking follow-up ultrasounds and follow-up lab work, and um, doctors can't act in the fashion that they could act before, and it's literally putting women's lives in danger. And so I was like, let me go, actually tell him, because maybe he doesn't know. Maybe if he hears, like, these stories straight from the horse's mouth, like, he'll understand. And so, like I said, wearing my scrubs, walked up to him and told him all of these stories. And I was like, this is, like, this is what happens when you put a layer of legislation between between a woman and healthcare decisions. And he basically called me a liar to my face. Said that I was, making that up and those things weren't actually happening. And so in that moment, like I
That's
had an
wild.
epiphany. Oh, it was. I was like, oh my, like I couldn't believe it. Like in that moment, I was like, oh my God, like I cannot believe I just spent the last several months focused on national issues when we had such a
Mm.
problem like right here at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I left that conversation knowing that I was going to take his job.
Mm.
Like I
Good for
literally
you.
filed my state paperwork like 3 days after the election. Yeah, like that. Like I announced like super, super early. Um, and then it's just been on the ground since then. So that is what has brought me from birth to sitting in front of y'all today.
That's
Wow.
that's an amazing story. Chastity and I were actually talking about this topic earlier. We were talking about kind of like the definition or who owns the term pro-life, because
Hmm.
we were talking about pro-life, and really the typical pro-lifer is just anti-abortion. They're not really pro-life. Um,
Yeah.
so it's like as far as like adoption, like you don't really see them promoting that you or anything else beyond birth, which is super unfortunate. And I agree that it should be left to a doctor and the mother.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually in Texas, they're not finished yet. Like we have some of our abortion laws here in the state mirror those of like third world countries.
Yep.
Like truly, truly do. There's no there's like 13 countries that don't have exceptions for rape or incest. Like we don't even have exceptions for rape or
Yeah.
incest. And they're not done yet. Like there is a growing movement, which is super scary in Texas, called the abortion abolitionist movement, which is basically the people that want to assign fetal personhood, and they want women who self-manage abortions, because right now any abortion laws in anywhere, they hold the provider accountable. There's no laws against the woman. They want to put laws against the woman, and they want to actually charge women who self-manage abortions with murder, which would make them eligible for the death penalty. And what started as just like a buzz in the corner, a little like, oh, that'll never happen. It's the current bill has 12 co-signers, so it is actually something that is growing in Texas. And I mean, that's just absolutely terrifying. They've done so well at owning this narrative of, oh, we're killing babies, and that sounds absolutely horrible. I mean, that's something you
Yeah.
throw out, and how do you argue against that? But
Mm-hmm.
but here's the thing, like pregnancy is not a risk-free condition. Like it's not like, asking someone to, I can't even think of something that the state would be eligible to force someone to do. But it's not like, asking someone to just like, carry a backpack around for 9 months.
Right.
Like your body, the moment you get pregnant, like you are in danger. Like your bodily fluids like increase, like the volume of your blood and everything else increases by 50%. You could have diabetes, you could have preeclampsia, you could have permanent back injuries, you could have, like, there's so many life threatening things that aren't, like, maybe not immediately life threatening, but it absolutely changes your body.
Yeah.
I mean, they call it labor for a reason. And so any woman should have the choice whether or not they want to use their body to provide labor in development of another human being. And period. End of story. Like, so many people get caught in the weeds of, well, when does life begin and this and that. I don't even go there, because it's, as long as a woman is supporting the development of something that is dependent on her body, she should have the choice whether or not she wants to use her body for that purpose. And if she does not want to use her body for that purpose, the state should absolutely not force her to.
Yeah.
Um,
And it comes
and
down to freedom, right? Like
yeah,
every man has equal rights in every state, women are the only ones where our specific rights will fluctuate between zip codes.
Yeah.
And we are humans where we have the same rights. We were born with the same rights. And so we have to have, like, if we're taking away freedom from women, we will soon take away the same freedoms from men, right?
Yeah.
And eventually, what stops you from doing that? What
Yeah.
stops us from, if we're taking away the woman's right for this, what's at what point do we start saying, you know, I don't even know what the word would be without being grotesque, but like ejaculation
Yeah.
would be abandonment, right?
Right. Right.
We will
Yeah.
not continue. If we go after one person, we will go after another at some point. And we
Yeah.
have to understand that, like, freedom means freedom for all, not
Yeah.
freedom for one.
Yeah. And then just, the dialogue that it has enabled for people to, be able to say to women, like, Twitter is just a horrible, horrible place to exist or visit or
Yeah. Yeah.
go. It was one of the first social media accounts I set up when I decided to run. In some way, shape, or form, I've gotten like 15,000 followers in like 9 months, which I can't even wrap my head around that, because people are, oh, you're just doing this for clout, which is so, so wild to me, because I don't want to be famous. I want to go to Austin and make laws for my community. But at
Yeah.
the same time, like, it keeps me going, because these are people who are influencing like our laws in Texas. And it's the only place where current Republican Texas State House of Representatives members, like, actually, it's the only social media that they actually use. So I had to get involved so I could, kind of see what was going on. And that's when I learned things that I was like, oh, it's bad. Like, it's
Yeah.
bad here. And so it just like keeps me going. But the dialogue that they have, enabled through this constant attack on women's rights, there's people every other day, oh, well, if you don't want to get pregnant, keep your legs closed. And I'm like, okay, so married women just aren't supposed to have sex? And then, so I'll make a post saying, hey, like, I'll quote a post like that and tell women, like, hey, if you are not actively trying to become a parent, like, shut it down. Just do not, it is not safe to have sex in this state. And then they come after me for for that. They're so mad. And I'm like, but you, like, that's what you're telling us to keep our legs closed. And then I'm telling women, hey, y'all, like, don't have sex. And then they get super angry about that. Like, they just want to be really mad and really angry at women.
Or they want, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
were having the same conversation the other night. I'm going to bring it up. I'm sorry. We were having the same conversation the other night about toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And how toxic masculinity is ingrained in our children from a very, very young age. Like, if we tell a child, a toddler who has no, experience with the world, and we tell a little boy, run like a boy, and he runs really fast. And then we tell the little girl, run like a little girl, and she will run really fast.
Yeah.
But once they hit a certain age and we say, run like a girl, it comes into this, like, you know what I mean? Or you're crying like a girl.
Yeah.
We start with these, like, very toxic man or woman hating things at a very young age, of like, women are inferior, women are not as good as, and it's ingrained, and it's unintentionally ingrained, like, right?
Yeah.
We all
it's a
have
hard thing to
known
break.
it
Yeah.
our whole lives as that being a thing. So when we say, like, quit crying, you're acting like a crybaby little girl, right? That's not.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not. And it's so funny, because I actually called that out online, and it was even AOC that actually said it when Trump and Elon were having their little falling out, and everyone's like, oh, the girls are fighting. I'm like, no, the adult men are fighting.
Yeah.
Like, we're not. Yeah. Women would. Yeah. Like, no, don't put this on. Like, don't equate that behavior to something that girls do. Like, those are two dramatic grown men that are doing that. Like,
Okay, I gotta defend myself here for a little bit.
oh, no, absolutely.
No, so, like, from that conversation, I was crap, I lost my train of thought.
You're defending yourself because I was talking about toxic masculinity.
Yes, but I had said something and I was because when like boys when we're growing up, we make fun of each other a lot. Like all the time. It's bad. Like it's one of those things where it's I guess it's nature. I don't know what it is, but I was asking Chastity if you know y'all did that when y'all were younger, and I pretty much got like a no. But it's like constant with it was constant with us. We're always making fun of each other, always putting each other down, always
Yeah.
abusing each other. And then I guess a lot of men, most men, they don't know how to I guess treat women eat like a certain way. Instead, it comes off like it looks like that, which it is because that's us being rude to men, thinking that it's the same way to treat y'all like that. You know what I mean? If that makes sense at all.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. And I'm about to like just very quickly summarize one of the Substacks I made, or one of the Substacks I wrote, and how that came about was because I have the Twitter blue check, and I'll just start writing stuff, and you can actually like there's a character limit on the blue check as well.
Oh wow.
So like when I get to the end of the character limit of like even a blue check post, and I hate threading things for some reason, I don't know why. I'm like, all right, this is going on a Substack, but um unchecked capitalism, and again, like capitalism is an amazing thing with some guardrails, but unchecked capitalism is what has led to the male loneliness epidemic, and let me explain
Mm.
why that is. And it has, because everyone always goes back to, well, when I was growing up, women stayed at home and they raised children and they did this and they did that, and now they're feminists and they insist on working and they do this and do that. No, no, no.
Yeah.
Capitalism made it to where you could no longer afford to have a one person. My mom, she wanted to stay home when I was growing up. My mom wanted to stay home. We could not afford, in my household, we could not afford for my mom to stay home from work. Like my mom had to work because it goes on long enough, wages stagnate, things get more and more expensive to where you have to have two people working. And so obviously the capitalists don't want to admit that they're the reason why we no longer have one working and one person staying at home. And so they found these podcast bros to start blaming it on women. Like they will do everything to blame it on women so they don't have to accept the responsibility for how they have actually failed men. Like I feel horrible for men that they have set men up to feel like they're also failures.
Yeah.
Because you're growing up and you're supposed to be like, oh, well, I'm supposed to get
Provide.
out and just work 40 hours a week and support my whole family, and this and that, and my wife will be able to stay home. And then when men can't live up to that expectation, like that is what leads to the anger, to the incel, to the
Mm-hmm.
male loneliness epidemic. And it's not even, I don't even want to put, I'm not putting all of that on men. They are also a victim of the unchecked capitalism that has like led us to where things are just completely unaffordable. And I feel horrible that they also have expectations. And that's
Mm-hmm.
one, avenue where women kind of, we were a little bit freer in that we could go kind of pursue whatever we wanted to do and pursue our dreams without having these like really heavy expectations of having to support a family and having to do this and having to do that. And it's led to women kind of being more successful lately, in the last several years. But again, we're all victims of the same system. Like it is not, I really don't want to put it on men, but I also feel like we're in a very tricky kind of generational shift, because again, like we're in a generation where a lot of men still grew up with moms at home, and they saw women that did everything and took care of the house and did their laundry and did this, and then they saw their dad, that all their dad did was like go to work and come home, and then that was it.
Yeah.
Well, now with women in the workforce and women having to work because you can't necessarily afford to, the women's expectation is shifting to where like, hey, if we're both working, then we need to do 50-50 of the the housework. The housework, the child rearing, the And so we're in a generational shift. And I really do think that men will catch up to that. Um, where, you have a whole generation of men who were not raised with the expectations that they were going to have to contribute to the household. And you have women that are expecting them to, and you're getting that clash.
Yes.
And now again, with women having, being in the workforce and having their own money, they're not putting up with it anymore. Like, if they're not getting their needs met, if they're not being supported, if they're not sharing the household,
Why are we doing
50-50, yeah, they're like, what? I am voluntarily single. Like, I feel like I was in a relationship my entire life, and I've been single now for 2 years. And I know literally zero offense to men, but I feel like I've raised my children, and I've done enough man raising for my life. Like, I'm just, and that sounds so horrible.
No,
but,
I
like,
get it. I get it.
It's really
yeah, like I'm so
honest, and it's really not.
No, I get it. I mean, my wife feeds
Yeah.
me all the time. I mean, I love it, but I see I see the comparison. Absolutely.
Yeah. And again, like, it sounds like we're like dogging on men, but no, I mean, they are victims of the same system. So, and I truly truly believe that. I just wish they were listening to us when we're trying to explain these things to them, and not people like Joe Rogan and Andrew Tate.
Yeah, a lot of those podcast
That's not
bros,
helpful.
they got real. It happened really quick because
Yeah.
I've watched Joe Rogan for a long time, since I don't know, a long time, and it was like when Andrew Tate started coming out, and people like even Charlie Kirk, rest his soul, I guess, and Ben Shapiro, like all these people, they were like setting these weird standards for women as men, and then I look at these guys and I see them and I'm like, these guys are like they don't have anything. Like, what do
Yeah.
they really have? They have a lot of money, but what are they doing? Like, what are they? They're having a lot of fun, but they're not doing the real shit. They're definitely not doing what I was doing for a long time before I got injured. And they didn't have to get hurt and go through a system like I did, because I didn't have all these people following me giving me all this money. I had to figure it out myself. And that's
Yeah.
the difference that these young people have
That's
to realize. They're
100%.
not these podcast bros. You're
No.
not them, man. There's a real world out here. And it's not built for men anymore. It used to be that way where men could just go to work. The wife would, like you were just talking about, and he would just go to sleep
Yeah.
on the couch. And that's something to me, growing up, always seeing dad asleep on the couch and stuff like that. Looking at it now, a lot of dads were doing that. Going to work, long hours, coming home, going to sleep on the couch. And that was just the life of a man, just going to
Yeah.
work and going to sleep, because we were so tired. And then it started evening out a little bit, and now for some reason they're still living in that world where that was a reality, but it's not the reality anymore.
Yeah, because again, like I said, like we're in a generational shift where men for centuries have only had one expectation, and that was to be a financial provider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Period. That was all that was ever expected of them.
Mhm.
Like, when they asked, oh, well, my grandparents were married for 50 years. Well, yeah, because your grandmother couldn't afford to leave. Like, women weren't even allowed to have
And what was the
credit
quality
cards
of
until,
life
like,
also? Like,
yeah, like, they weren't allowed to have credit cards till 1975. Like, a woman couldn't apply for her own mortgage until like almost 1980. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
damn.
it's like, yeah, that sounds great, and good for your grandfather, but your grandmother was probably miserable, like, and just knew that was her lot in life. And so it's yeah. So again, I wish that men would
wake
take
up,
the
snap out of it,
advice.
mature,
Yeah.
grow up.
Well, yeah, and take the advice from women about how to transition to this next stage of, like, what society expects
Mhm.
of of people now, and not listen to because I mean, if they keep listening to those guys, they're gonna continue being frustrated, and it continues to get more and more dangerous for women, because eventually, like, there's gonna be guys where, um I mean, I hate to say it, but they're gonna start taking things that don't belong to them. Like, if they get
Yeah.
frustrated and feel like they're owed, and
Yeah, well,
uh,
that there was that Virginia Tech shooting. I don't know if y'all remember that. He was like
mhm.
some kind of an incel or something like that. That was a few years ago, but yeah, I remember when that happened. That was like the start of like this incel culture or whatever you want to call it. That toxic masculinity, like it grew from that, and it just I don't know where that came from. I have no idea where that
Yeah,
came from.
I think that we have to like also acknowledge the fact that um this is an us, the people versus them,
Yeah,
right?
mhm.
The people that are making the rules, the 1% that own, the 99% of the wealth in America, and the 99% are the ones that are suffering from this, just like you're saying. Like this is
Yeah,
not that we keep saying like, yeah, that it has to do with the corporation. It has to do with the fact that we're allowing, like, our legislatures, our democracy allows for the thriving and indoctrination of these ideas, and it pits us against each other. This isn't
mhm.
They make it seem as if this is a left versus right, a female versus male, uh, you know what I mean? And it's not.
Yeah,
It's a right versus wrong, and it's an us versus them. And what I
one
think I
thousand percent. Yeah,
say is that you recognize that very, very early, and that's what made you run for office, right?
yeah,
And that's what people need to start doing. People need to start acknowledging that this is not a Republican versus a Democrat. This is not a woman versus a man. This is a 1% versus the 99%, and they're pitting us against each other by utilizing the narrative of it being a left versus right, or a
yeah,
blue versus red, or a male versus female. It's not actually, that is not actually what is happening. What is happening is that they are controlling these narratives that you're believing and pitting us against each other by using these podcast bros, right?
yeah,
By using these speakers and these public figures to indoctrinate you with these ideas that make you think that you're either a Republican or a Democrat, and that you don't have your own ideas because you align with this specific value. And so then it makes you feel like that you're supposed to hate women. You're supposed to, you're supposed to and do all of these things, and hate a Democrat or hate a Republican, because
hmm.
that what is happening is us versus them.
Oh
It's
yeah,
us versus them. Bottom line, everybody needs to understand like that your vote matters so much more than it ever did. You running for something and standing up for something means so much more than it ever has previously. Like we're probably back in the worst. I can honestly say I never thought that we would actually be in this time period where you would be worried about the things that were happening tomorrow. That you
yeah,
would be worrying about, if is a civil war going to happen tomorrow? You know what I mean? Like that's a real thought and a real genuine fear. And
yeah.
that's insane. I never thought that would be a thing. Yeah.
No, yeah, it's actually terrifying. Like if I had a dollar for everyone, if I had a dollar for every time somebody has like specifically said to me that liberal white women are the worst thing that's ever happened to this country, and liberal white women are a disease, and liberal white women are a cancer. Like if I had a dollar for every time somebody had said that to me, like I'd have enough to buy an election.
Yeah.
Like it's
anytime
all
anytime you
the
have to have
time.
yeah, anytime you have a discussion with somebody that's right leaning, they always want to blame the left or Biden or
Mhm.
somebody that's not them. No
Yeah,
accountability at all.
Even having like a conservative view, that's like you will not fit in. I've learned this throughout my life because I'm half Mexican, half white. Too white for Mexicans, too Mexicans for white, right? And the same thing with with my political views now. Like, heaven forbid I have my an own thought in my own head, you know what I mean,
right.
or my own values or my own words come out of my mouth. If you do, you're labeled as somebody that you don't identify as personally, and it's supposed to be like it's a negative thing. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like I can believe both sides. I can believe that this person is right and this person is wrong, and I can believe that this person is right and this person is wrong, and switch both of those based off of my beliefs. And
yeah.
that's okay. People should understand that. That's insane. and being derogatory with that, with political words, is like the stupidest thing to me. I'm like, okay, thanks.
And then
Thanks
it's
for
frustrating
talking about
because it doesn't lead to anything. It doesn't lead to conversation. It
Yeah.
doesn't lead to any solutions. It's a waste of time, waste of
It is.
energy.
Yeah, one of the hands down most frustrating things is how the right has been so successful at monetizing fear.
Hmm.
And I want to explain what I mean by that. So they spent the last 4 years talking about how dangerous and their immigrants are and how they're just
Yes.
terrorizing our communities and raping our wives and killing our children and this and that, when we know that that is just absolutely, of course there's individual cases to point
There's
to.
always bad actors in every.
There's always
Yeah.
individual cases to point to. Like that's obvious.
Hmm.
You're gonna find like
Yes.
something bad that's happened to support your narrative.
Hmm.
But the actual statistics show that like by far, like immigrants are far more likely, or far, I'm so sorry, far less likely to commit crime. But so they spent the last 4 years convincing them that immigrants, any immigrant, and now it's bled over into, unfortunately, just people with brown skin, like
Yeah.
people that, grandmas and grandpas who've been here for
Or,
20, 30 years, who are literally just trying to make a living. you know Everybody is the enemy, and the reason that they did this, because it truly is like a follow the money moment. In the big bill that they passed, they increased the detention budget, not the deportation budget, but the detention budget, from 3 billion to 45 billion
Oh,
dollars.
what?
And yes, and the reason that they did that is because, yeah, the private prisons. The private prison donors spent, through all sorts of money at the Republicans in this election. And so they scared everybody to convince them that this is a good thing that they're doing. When you look, they have deported year to date 1/4 of the number of people that Joe Biden's administration deported last year. Like, if you actually wanted deportations to happen, then you should have stuck with a Democrat, because they were actually deporting people. They were putting
Obama
people
was
in the
too.
system. Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Like Obama was too. Trump is not actually deporting people. They are building like the alligator Alcatraz. I think the one in Texas we're about to open. I think it's called the Lone Star Lockup or something
Oh my
extra.
god.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, and they're talking about building one in another state. They are filtering this private. They're filtering our public tax dollars to their private prison buddies. And the thing is, you can't charge unless you have a body in that bed. And so that's why they've just started snatching everyone they can off the street.
Yep.
And they fear
they're going after homeless people.
Yeah.
Anybody of color first, then the homeless people. They're gonna next go probably just the same way that historically goes after the unionists. Anybody that boycotts them, anybody that's protesting, anybody that has a problem that won't stay in line.
I saw something out of California, and I don't know how true it was. It was like a blip. That I guess in California they could profile you now just by your accent.
Yep.
Yes.
That's insane.
Just by your accent and the color of your skin.
That's fucking.
And whether or not
like
you're speaking Spanish.
It's crazy because like I'll go ahead and say that they've always done that, right? They've always profiled people, but for them to just say it, it's like, okay, you're saying it now, but like not enough people I feel are paying attention to what is actually happening, and how like slowly we're like inching our way to this really strange place that nobody wants to be in.
Yeah.
The loss of rights every time we turn around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh my God. And that is the absolute like craziest thing. Again, so they have fear-mongered people into being okay with our public tax dollars going to just holding people indefinitely with no due process, no court cases. If they are getting deported, it's to places that they've never even been, like South Sudan and El Salvador. Like, it is absolutely wild what is going on. And they have people cheering it on. And I'm like, oh my God, like they're robbing you blind. They took away
Who
health
do you,
care
who do you
to
think
pay
owns?
private prison companies.
Yeah, who do you think that owns like these algorithms that are feeding your feed?
Oh, yeah.
You know
Oh
what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
and then they're gonna update the guidelines for a lot of things on on Sunday or something like that.
content. Yeah. But
Yeah.
who owns these algorithms that are feeding your feed, that are putting you into these slots of, this is the person you're going to be, and this is the person you're going to be, and these are
Yeah.
the people you're going to hate, and these are the people you're going to hate. Like,
Yeah, because anger
you're not
sells.
controlling your own algorithm.
No, God, no. Yeah,
You're
anger
leading
sells.
it and directing it, but these people own your algorithm. They own the news that you get. Like, we used to complain about that, right? Like, we used to say that, you know, fake news, right? And when we suspected that it wasn't realistic news, that it was bought by one side or the other, now we know it is. It's blatantly known that, like, Fox News is going to be more Republican, right? Like, we know that these which news station belongs to what side. It's absolutely insane, because we all know that that's not the way that it's supposed to be. But now we turn to social media to get our news now, and then that social media algorithm is tailored based off of your slight interest of one thing that has directed you into this entire political block.
Yeah.
And only feeds you what hate. It feeds you what it wants you to hate.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. And then how do you just not notice this? I don't get that, but
I don't know. And you know, that was the craziest thing, because before I started using Twitter for political purposes, I literally curated my feed where it was nothing but NFL football. I used Twitter for football talk. That was it. I'm a Chiefs fan. I would get on there and talk, you know, mess to Bills fans and Bengals fans and, you know, whatever. Um, and so, like, literally that's all I would use it for. And then, like, come election time, I would start getting like random, like Benny Johnson posts, just like randomly peppered in. And I'm like, there's nothing that I have commented on, interacted with, or, you know, ever gave any impression to the algorithm that this is something that I would have wanted to see in my feed.
yeah.
But it was just, and it was stuff that would like make me mad. And like a couple times, like I would like comment on it, and then I'd start getting more. And so then I'm like, okay, no, just ignore, mute, don't want to see this, don't want to see this. I had to constantly work on keeping and this is just since Elon took over, because my original Twitter account I've had since 2009, just since Elon took over. But it was like active work to keep that stuff from showing up in my feed.
Yeah, and it's again, it's like right in front of us. You have Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, like Wall Street Journal, Facebook, Meta, and X, dude. Like, Jesus, it's all there in front of us. They're literally showing us we are run by the state now. We control the media. It's all.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just insane to me how people don't see this.
Yeah.
It's what
and
you were
pitting against each other. Yeah, it's crazy.
I wanted to go back.
Because again, they hit the right buttons. They hit the right fear buttons. They hit the immigrant fear button. They hit the LGBTQ button. They hit the buttons of fear. Like, oh, we're gonna hurt you, and it always goes back to like they're gonna hurt your children. Immigrants are gonna hurt your children. LGBTQ people are gonna hurt your children. Like it's all like they go for the low-hanging fruit of like human emotion, and fear is a very powerful motivator. And so they get hyper focused on, oh my God, I have to save my kids. And in the background, they're just robbing us blind, and we're just letting them do it because
us to death.
Yeah,
exactly.
I wanted to kind of go back to so how you got, so what you said 3 days later after you saw your opponent now at the, so how did that go? Like you've called Citizens United the worst thing to happen to the U.S. Can
Yeah.
you elaborate a bit about that?
Oh yeah, for sure. No, because I mean, basically, obviously, it was the Supreme Court decision that basically ruled that corporations are people, and so they can just give unlimited amounts of money to campaigns, and there's no way for the everyday voter to keep up. There's no way for the everyday voter, the everyday donor, like there's no way for them to keep up with the amount of money that corporations are allowed to give,
Mhm.
because of the Citizens United decision. And you just so now basically corporations make our laws
Mm-hmm.
because you really do, like, you have to call donors, you have to, talk to them. Like, I have personally committed that I will only take money from, because I haven't taken pac money yet, I will, but it'll be from cause-based pacs, not corporate pacs. And I will only take money from cause-based pacs that are issues that I've been very publicly vocal about already. Like, I would never change my mind or my vote on something. But if you're trying to get to Congress and you start having these conversations with yourself of, well, what's so bad if I vote for oil and gas and take some oil and gas money, and that's fine. And then they give you a couple million, and then you're like, well, I could, also vote for this, and then you take a couple million. And then that's the problem. They own you. If you don't vote the way that they want you to vote, they will fund your primary opponent in the next election. And, like, money is everything in politics, and which is absolutely horrible, because when I started this campaign, I don't have money. Like, I don't have a golden goose, like, hanging out in the corner. Like, I'm not a legacy politician with a crap ton of connect. Like, I started this campaign by googling how to run for office in Texas. Like,
I've
Everybody.
legit. But it's funny, like, I learned very quickly, so now I actually do have a team and strategists, and we have a ground game, and, like, all the things. But I knew, I was like, I don't have money. I was like, so I have to do this, like, old school, old fashioned, like, I will knock on every single door in my district twice if I have to get the word out. But that's the thing, I could do everything I can possibly humanly do, and the guy I'm running against could get $1 million and run a TV ad, put out 50 gazillion mailers telling
mm-hmm.
people that I eat baby parts for breakfast, and I'll lose. I mean, but that's what they do. Like,
That's
they, oh,
exactly what you do.
stop the extreme radical left liberal takeover. And I'm like, dude, like, I want people to have health care. I want our schools to be fully funded. I want people to stop being taxed out of their homes. Like, I think it's ridiculous that Elon Musk in Texas, actually, he was romanced to come to Texas by promises of property tax abatements. Like, the dude is a gazillionaire
Yeah.
and doesn't pay property taxes. And the vet down the street can't. Well, okay, we do actually have fairly good property tax laws for vets, so I take that back. But the grandma down the street doesn't, is being taxed out of her home because her home's paid off, but the value keeps going up every year, and she can't afford it on her fixed
Yeah.
income. Meanwhile, gazillionaire Elon Musk is being romanced to come to Texas and getting property tax abatements to do so. And it's just, anyway. So I, like, these are the things that I want, like, very common sense,
Yes.
everyday, like, normal things. And all it takes is for someone to be like, oh, she's deranged. She's a radical left loony. She probably takes money from George Soros. And then I'm labeled. Like, that's the game. Like, that's the game. Super, super. No, yeah. So money in politics is absolutely um
So do you
it,
have social medias where you like explain this, like you're as you're going through your campaign and stuff like that? I always think that it would be really cool for like people to be like, this is how I'm starting my campaign. This is me filing my
yeah,
letter. This is me doing this. This is what happened today. Today I learned, you know what I mean? Because
yeah,
that's the whole point of what we do here at Grassroots Resistance is attempting to educate people that never paid attention to politics ever before, and they don't know
yeah,
how, and they don't know why or what. And it's really like when you really start looking into the way that politics works, specifically campaigning, right?
hmm
We've learned so much about campaigning here lately. and like how much you can accept for as a donation from an individual versus how much you could accept from a corporate PAC versus how much you could get from, you know, an super PAC, right? Like the rules being so different, and
Mhm.
even like people that like you find it, people will find like super wealthy donors and then filter those through PACs so that they
Yep.
can resist that limit of an individual donor, so they'll just
Yep.
like put it through a PAC, and it's like so crooked. Our
Oh, yeah.
politics, the way that our politics work, are, if you really like start looking into it, you're like, this cannot be right. This
Yeah,
cannot
Yeah.
be
it's like
legal.
there's
Like
no
Yeah.
way
what is
everybody's doing this and
happening?
following every single rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like the federal laws are stricter in for Texas state races, there's like no rules. Like
Yes.
there's no limits, there's no transparency. There's like it is unless you're, if you're like a Democrat would get in trouble for something. But Republicans are never held accountable because we have Republicans in every facet of our government. I mean, Ken Paxton is like one of the most corrupt people that has ever walked the face of this planet. And he went through his whole like impeachment trial and was, you
Got
know,
out of it.
yeah, he got out of it because Republicans were the
Oh,
ones trying it. Like there's no um there's no decency anymore. And see, and that's the problem. And I'm gonna kind of change directions here. But that's what's wrong with gerrymandering, because gerrymandering doesn't just keep Republicans in power and take the voice away from Democrats. It also takes the voice away from Republicans, because Republicans will know that they're going to be reelected. So that is what has empowered them to not hold town halls, completely ignore their voters.
Mm.
They literally spend their off season going to donor dinners and again putting out TV ads, mailers, and all they know that all they have to do is win their Republican primary and they're going to be elected. Like, so it's also robbed the voice from Republicans, and so that's one of the reasons why Texas has gone so off the rails. If you survey Texas, between 75 and 85%, 75 and 85% of the people in this state think that our abortion laws are too restrictive. They think that it's crazy that we don't have exceptions for rape or incest, but the Republicans don't, like, they don't have to do anything about it because we're so gerrymandered that they know that they're going to be reelected anyway, that they're free to just go off the rails and do whatever the heck they want, and nobody will ever hold them accountable.
so how do
So
you think we stop that?
I mean, people, like, we have to get candidates that are willing to get out and do the work and fight, like Colin Allred when he ran for for Congress. Not when he, obviously he didn't win his Senate race last year, but when he ran for Congress, he ran in a district that where there was no Democrat opponent the year before, or the cycle before. So nobody had even challenged the Republican. They just knew, oh, that's a deep red seat. Nobody, a Democrat would never win. And so Colin Allred ran in that seat and he won. And so when we're taking it back to the state level, we had 21 races in 2024 where Republicans ran unopposed.
Post.
Yeah. So that is there's an organization called Blue Texas that's actually putting together a really strong plan to help with the elections, coming up in 2026. And the very first thing that they did, they spent the entire summer touring those 21 districts, recruiting candidates um, to run. So at the very least, in 2026, we will not have any Republicans running unopposed. Yeah. So those are
But
the kinds
then
of
you gotta
things
go
we
vote.
have to start doing. Yes.
Yeah.
And you have to go vote. So, um, because that's one of our biggest things. And that's also how gerrymandering, it hurts all the way down to the local level, because people just were like, oh, I live in a Republican area, so why even bother voting? Like the number of people I've already run across so far in this campaign that have told me that they didn't vote because they weren't a big fan of either candidate, meaning either presidential candidate. And I'm
Yeah.
like, our ballot was like 4 pages long. Like, like you have to, and so getting people re-engaged with the power of their local vote is just of the utmost importance, because the county commissioners, they decide where the polling locations are going to be. Like, they decide how many polls are going to be open, where they're going to be located, which districts, which neighborhoods they're located in. Like, there's so many ways that gerrymandering can pull the string even all the way down to the local level and make it harder for Democrats to vote. um that it's just, yeah, it's crazy. But again, like, the power of the local election, we had there's a city called Pasadena. I don't Are y'all local to Texas, or?
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
in Amarillo.
I'm from San Antonio.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, you've probably heard of Pasadena. So city
Yeah,
on
for
the
sure.
outskirts of Texas. They had their city council election in May, and it went to a runoff. And so they had the runoff in June, and the vote ended in a 272 to 272 tie. They actually chose their next city council member with a coin flip. And
Wow.
so I've told that story probably 50 times at this point, because that's what I'm telling people. I'm like, you're not trying to be one in 150 million in a presidential election. You're trying to be number 273 of 272.
Yeah.
And the closer the vote is to your area and the smaller the turnout, the actual larger impact it has on your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Like, federal taxes are not going to affect you. I mean, they will here and there and this or this and that, but do you want a sidewalk outside your neighborhood? Are your street lights constantly out? Or do your roads suck? Do you again, does your public school need funding? Like, those are the things that people actually care about and things that actually affect their lives. And that's where you have the power in local elections. So
And people
I'm
also
really
don't realize,
passionate about this.
yeah, you should be.
Yeah, every person who's running for anything should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. People also don't realize, like, as big as so I live in District 13, Texas Panhandle, top of Texas, huge district. There's 800,000 people in this district. The last voter turnout of a what is that called? What is a mid-year?
Midterm.
The midterms.
Talking about midterms.
Was like 87,000 people. In
Wow.
the presidential election, 180,000 people to 200,000 people. And I'm like,
Yeah.
there's 800,000 people in this district. What are you people doing?
Right.
You're throwing away your life.
Right.
If you have a problem today, it's because you didn't vote last time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We have the fourth. Yeah. Texas has the fourth lowest voter turnout in the nation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
31 million
by
people,
percentage.
and only 17,000 or 17 million are registered to vote, and less than that vote in presidential elections.
Yeah.
Half of that vote in presidential elections, which is absolutely insane. But then we want to open a business and complain that the amount of $1 is literally, for a person that's working a 9-to-5 job, maybe 78 cents. Right. But then somebody that owns their business is less than that. It's, 53 cents or 42 cents. Right. Because you're taxed so bad. And you can't complain about these things when we don't vote, guys. Like, you don't vote for somebody that's going to represent you. And you're not always going to agree with every single 100% of what either candidate says. Right. Yeah. Sometimes it will be choosing the lesser of the two evils, right? But sometimes it will be, this person thinks the same way I do about parenting. This one thinks the same way I do about religion. This one thinks the same way I do about my business. This one thinks the same way I do about my, taxes. And that's why you vote for them. You vote for them based off of issues. Do not vote for them based off of party. Therefore, you have to know
exactly.
We have to understand that, like, it is one vote. And if your vote, people say it all the time, my vote doesn't mean anything, my voice doesn't matter, nobody cares, nobody listens. The only time that your voice matters more than anything in the world is during a vote. Because they can't deny you having a vote. If you're registered, they cannot deny your vote.
Yeah.
But your representative can ignore your phone call. They can ignore your email. They can go based off of their lobbyists. Even if 90% of their district is against something, they can still side with that lobbyist. And so your vote matters more during the vote than it does at any other time. And we're ignoring this because we've been taught that it doesn't matter. But they spend tons of money to make sure that you think that it doesn't matter. They spent tons of money for that redistricting package.
Yeah.
tons of money to choose those districts and to do exactly what you said, taking polling locations out of specific neighborhoods, making sure that we don't have public transportation back and forth to these polling locations,
Yep.
ensuring that we are making sure that people's voices are not heard, right? So that they would not be spending that much money, that much time, and that much effort if your voice did not matter.
Exactly. Yeah, we're one of only 7 states that does not have online voter registration, and they keep saying, oh well, it's not secure. What? What? I bought a house 2 years ago. I applied for a mortgage, did absolutely
Everything online.
everything
Yes,
online.
I
My
bought a
social
house during
security card,
COVID and
my
I didn't.
paycheck.
Yeah,
Yeah, my
I didn't.
paycheck stubs, my bank statements, my,
Everything.
everything got transmitted electronically. Don't you dare tell
You
me.
can
Yeah.
renew your driver's license online.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
can do,
that reminds me, I need to do that.
you can
Anyway,
do
but yeah, I mean,
everything
registering to
online.
vote should be easy. And yeah, sure, I understand. Like, I actually do support, like, I support voter ID, but register online, show your ID when you go vote. Done. Like, what,
We
trying
have
to, yeah, trying to say that and again, we're one of only 7 states that does not allow. And that, because everyone's like, oh, because I will die on the hill that Texas is not red, it's gerrymandered, and people are like, oh, well, statewide elections will say differently. No, because that is the downstream effect of gerrymandering. Because when you have a Republican majority, they will do everything in their power to ensure that it stays that way, and they consistently make it as hard as possible for
yeah.
people to vote.
And Democrats have done it as well. Like
Yeah,
we have to be realistic, because when we're talking about certain things, because we're going to have it from both sides. Like the
yeah,
Republicans are going to say the Democrats do it, and the Democrats are going to say the Republicans do it. But the bottom line is that it's wrong.
yeah,
No matter who has done it, it is
yeah,
wrong. No matter
yeah.
who benefits from it, it is wrong, right? Like we have to. That's where we get back to this. Like this is us versus them, you guys. It's not us against each other. It's we have to understand that like it's wrong coming from either side, period.
Yeah.
If I'm taking away your voice or his voice, or you're taking away my voice, that's not fair.
No,
That's
it's not fair. And that one of the saddest things, again, I see online is when people will be like, well, I don't want those people to vote. Like, and that's just horrible. Like, these people, like, it's like, okay, well, you're saying that now because your team's winning. But
yeah,
what happens when it's the same thing. Like, oh, well, yeah, I want. I want the laws in this country to be based on Christianity because I'm a Christian, and that's great for now. But if we start breaking that line of separation of church and state, what happens when the tides turn and you've already broken those barriers, you've broken the rules, you've made new laws, you cross that line? What happens when it's not Christianity? And then you're gonna be like, oh no, 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 this is wrong. You
yeah,
have to protect it. It was, oh my gosh, I was going back and forth on a thread earlier with a sitting Texas State House of Representatives member that was talking about, there were some college campuses where students were cheering the death of Charlie Kirk, which is absolutely abhorrent. Like that, I do not support that. But it is protected speech. Like that is free speech. And so he was calling, basically saying that he was going to, like, any campus where he saw that those activities were occurring, he was going to remove state funding from those campuses. And I was like, do you realize what you're saying right now? Like, you were saying out loud that you are going to use your power as a government official to punish somebody for protected speech. Like, and yeah, the speech is abhorrent, but I think the R word and the C word are abhorrent, but I support people's right to say it. Yeah, like I'll mute it so I don't see it on Twitter, but I still support people's right to say it. Protecting rights doesn't mean protecting only the ones that you agree with.
yeah,
You have to protect rights from top to bottom because you will not always be on the winning side.
100%.
And the thing that is so hard to watch right now is how many Republicans, because they are currently on the winning side, can't wrap their brains around the slippery slope that they're currently participating in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that I I truly think that there are more people. We're talking about a good person versus a bad person, right? Like I have friends that are from all different parties. I have friends that are from all different religions. I have, and people that I would trust to, they would give me the shirts off their back. They are good people, right? Their values are different than mine. Their beliefs are different than mine, but they are good people. And we have to get back to this, like, values, voting off of your morals, voting off of what you know is right and wrong. What you know, and this is a slippery slope. That's the same thing that we were talking about. If we take away women's rights with reproduction, what what at what point does somebody say that a man is not abandoning future children,
Right.
right? And or killing babies too. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
it's a very fine line. And
Yeah.
if once we start muting one demographic, we've muted this demographic and they're no longer a problem. Now let's go after this demographic and it's no longer a problem. And we'll go after this demographic and it's no longer a problem. When it gets to you,
Mhm.
nobody will be there to save you
Yeah.
because you are the person on top cheering all of this on, right?
Exactly.
And there's nobody going to be there to save you. So we cannot be just handing these liberties away all of the time at
Exactly.
for different costs. It's just not good. I'm with you. I totally get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
You
insane.
have to protect. It's just like, the Second Amendment. That is a constitutional right.
Yes.
And I don't love it, but I know my role as a lawmaker is to, protect those rights. Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of common sense Second Amendment policies do you have, like, in the shoot, I guess?
Yeah. So, you know, when it comes to stuff like that, I really do listen, like, to the voice of the district. And so my district, I have found in-person conversations, they really fall in line with what statewide and nationwide polling, which is when you actually poll people over, overall, because when you say the word gun laws, everyone recoils. But when
Yes.
you actually poll people on solutions, like, hey, all we're asking for, universal background checks. You don't want someone with a long history of violent activities getting access to a firearm. Like, you don't, and that's common sense. So universal background checks, and there have got to be some sort of red flag laws where if someone is showing a consistent pattern of, mental instability, schizophrenia, or because that's the one thing that all of these mass shooters have in common. You want to point to the demographics and, is it male? Is it female? Are they, or is it a trans individual? Is it this and that? One, thing, there were signs
Yes.
leading up to it. Like in
They were quiet.
the
They had no friends. They
Yes, in like 95% of the cases, there were signs leading up to what happened that could have prevented it from happening. And there have got to be mechanisms in place where it throws up a flag saying, hey, maybe we don't let this person buy their third weapon in 3 days. Like, something's not, adding up here. And again, both of those things, the universal background checks, closing the gun show loophole, um, and then some sort of, and there can be very strict guardrails and paths to regain access to your weapons and this and that, but they all pull very highly.
yeah.
And so those are the things, because again, like, I'm not wanting to get to Austin to put my beliefs,
Yes.
to enact my beliefs. I want to get to Austin to represent, like, the community that I serve, because that is the job. Like, Texas has a represent, like, everyone's like, oh, we're a constitutional republic. Well, in Texas, we are a representative democracy, meaning, like, you vote directly for a representative. That representative is supposed to be your voice
Right.
in the Texas state legislature. And that is absolutely not what's happening now.
No.
And that's another commitment that I, will make, is I want to be one of the most accessible, state reps that there is. Like, I have time. Like, there's no reason why I can't personally return phone calls, why I can't personally, respond to emails. Obviously, I'm active on social media. Like, I try to, talk directly with people. Um, And then anytime there's like a big vote or a controversial issue, like I want to have monthly town halls and like, for controversial issues, like I actually want to send out polls that people can respond to, like, hey, let's have a dialogue. Like, tell me how you feel about, this particular issue. I want to be able to explain, like, stand in front of the people regardless of party and explain to them why I voted the way that I did, regardless of party. Because I'm a Democrat, and I personally align with the Democratic platform and the Democratic values, and I will personally cast my personal vote as a Democrat in the majority of elections. But I'm not wanting to get to Austin to toe the Democratic Party line if it's not something that my community wants me to do. Like, and if I felt like that's what was happening, I wouldn't have felt compelled to run, but that's just not what's happening. So,
and when it comes to issues like that, like, I think we can all collectively say that, like, a personal issue, one issue is going to affect me personally in a different way that it may affect him or may affect you. And so, but we may also align across a party line and not even realize it.
Yeah.
So those specific issues are a big deal.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we do on this podcast is we ask our guests to leave a question for the next guest. And so a question was left for you from the last guest, which was Sarah Stogner. She's a district attorney. I don't know if you know who she is.
I'm familiar. Yeah, we've interacted on. She's pretty awesome. And she's a Republican, and I love her.
Yeah, we've met her. She's really cool.
Yeah, I think she's cool.
So your question that she left for you is, if you could give yourself one piece of advice when you were graduating high school, what would it have been?
Oh, that's so tough. It's funny, and I saw that in the sheet that you sent me prior, because I love my journey, because it would have been like, of course nobody chooses to, like, because I didn't go to college right away. Like, I had kids. I did everything backwards. I was young and divorced, and oh my God, what am I going to do with my life? Like, so you think that I would answer like, oh, well, I would make sure that I have everything stable and I have my career ready to go, before I get married. But I love my journey. Like, it made me who I am. Like, it put like the grit in my soul. And not only that, but my kids, like, they were able to see like my drive and my determination. And now they're 22 and 24 and just amazing, young adult human beings. And I feel like the journey that we went on together, I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change anything. So let me see. So I do want to answer though. So it'll probably be something goofy, like, if I could give myself advice, you know what? Okay, yeah. I would take better care of my skin.
Yes.
I swear to God.
Wear sunscreen.
Yes, sunscreen, stay out of the tanning beds. I would have started like a routine like way earlier in life.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what?
Like, the best piece of advice. I probably would have told myself that too.
Yeah.
If I would have thought about it. But
you're like, dude, life is gonna suck no matter what, but you're gonna hate your skin more.
Right.
That's hilarious. And do you want to leave a question for the next guest?
I do.
Literally anything. We've had people ask like what instrument you would be, or what's your favorite tacos, or like literally any type of question.
Yeah. Oh goodness, that's a good one.
Dang, we got her.
Yeah.
Stumped her.
I know. Yeah, I told y'all. I warned y'all at the beginning that I'm a talker. What is your favorite childhood holiday memory?
Okay, I like that
one. Good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the live feed. We've been on for over an hour already. Jen is in our live chat. She wants to say hi. Sorry she had to take off today, but she sends her love. Where can everybody find you on your socials?
Awesome.
and what can they do to support your campaign?
Yeah. Just obviously donations are always appreciated. My website is mcgee4tx.com. So it's mcgeefortx.com. She can read all about that. That also has links to my socials. I am Sarah for Text Ledge on basically everything: Threads, Instagram, Twitter's where I do most of my damage. I've, I've recently started trying to do TikToks. I'm really like, you can see here, like I'm good at talking like to people. I'm absolutely dog do at just holding a phone and talking like to myself. Like I
Hmm.
don't I cannot get that down. So I've been trying. I've been pushing my boundaries and trying to get TikTok going. So you can find me on TikTok as well. But donations are always welcome. Like my absolute favorite, like I'm up to like 400 individual donors. I think that my average donation is like $9 or something. I'll, get $5 donations. It's amazing. $5 buys 2 yard signs. So yeah, I mean, whatever helps get the word out. But if you can't donate, if you're not in a place to donate, then obviously sharing posts also is like super duper appreciated. But yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm in it to win it. Like I will, like I said, if I have to knock on every door myself twice, like I
Yeah.
will.
I can feel your energy. All right, that's Sarah McGee, candidate for Texas House District 132. Thank you again so much for joining
Yes.
us.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
gonna
Of
cut the
course, thank
live.
you for having me.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut the live. You could go ahead and hang out for a little bit after. But to everybody else, we'll see y'all.
Bye.